Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. These guys are very funny, so pay attention. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we're going to be talking about Passenger 57 from 1992. It has been a long time since I've seen this, possibly since it first came out. How about you?
Same. I saw it on VHS in uni, I think. Me and my housemates used to do, it's like uni. You go out in the week and you stay in at the weekend. It's the opposite of being a civilian. So we'd, tend to get just 3 or 4 films out over a weekend. And I'm pretty sure this was a watch it in the flat movie with my friends. And I don't think I've ever seen it since. It's not on TV that often, actually. I don't think I've seen it.
No, it's not. It's not, actually. It's it's an uncommon one. I'm not really sure why.
Well, maybe we can discuss that. So, directed by Kevin Hooks, who did a lot of TV shows, the typical kind of action TV shows from back in the day, and then did a few films, but not that many. And I think we've talked about this a lot before, where these kind of 90s directors end up back in TV now because there's so much TV being made. So recently he's directed episodes of The Orville and The Orville and The Punisher, some of the most recent things.
Based on like Supernatural, Bones, The Good Wife, Castle, Scorpion, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Genius, Good Cop, tons, and Preacher. He's even done Preacher. So he's, This Is Us. He's done 2 episodes of that. So that's, some of the top 10 TV shows of the last 10 years or so. He's been directing episodes of that.
And there's 3 different writers on this, one of whom wrote Money Train, which was another Wesley Snipes film from a few years later.
Yes.
I remember it very well. It was the first time I ever saw Jennifer Lopez. And it's been a lasting impression on me.
Scarred him.
No, in a good way.
Okay.
And he also wrote Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that one for a future one.
No, let's not.
No.
So it's got a good cast. So you've got Wesley Snipes, and it's easy to forget because he disappeared for a number of years, but we won't go into that. How big a star he was in the 90s and how many films he made.
And
one of my favourite actors probably in the 90s. He did a lot of these kind of action movies at the time as well. Things like Boiling Point, Demolition Man, of course. So he's obviously the main person here. Tom Sizemore's in here, who's always good. Bruce Payne, we'll come back to him. Alex Datcher, I don't think I've seen in anything else. Liz Hurley.
That was a surprise. I'd forgotten about her. I'd really forgotten about her.
This
and
is
Bruce
right
Greenwood,
at the height.
of course.
And Bruce Greenwood, Pike in the new Star Trek films, of course.
Yeah.
So there's 2 Star Trek links, look, already.
There you go.
So a drinking game.
Yep. And drink. So you said you'll come back to Bruce Payne. Would you like to expand upon that, Pete?
Depends how much you want to say this early in the show. But again, spoilers, etc. It's been out since 1992. You've had plenty of chances to watch it. He's the weak link in this movie, and he was when I saw it first, and he still is today. This is
it the perm? Is that what you're saying, Pete?
Pretty much the acting. I think he was just asked to kind of overact and kind of make this. Nicolas Cage. It's interesting we talked about Nicolas Cage because it's that kind of. I don't know if you saw a video the other day. Was behind the scenes on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And they're kind of getting him to do more, and they keep giving him these notes like just bigger, and he goes, "Oh, you want me to go full Cage?" Well, wow. This is the equivalent of full Cage to me, because Wesley Snipes has got this kind of cool confidence that he oozes. He's full of charisma, and actually Tom Sizemore does as well. So at the start of the film, you've got these kind of characters you don't see in films that much anymore that have got this kind of swagger about them, and then for me, the film just takes a huge dip as soon as the villain comes on. And when you consider this is in the kind of Die Hard fit, there was a period of about 6 years where Die Hard copies were everywhere. You were on a boat, you were on a train, you were in a hockey stadium and a bus. And considering it, in most of those films, they've got really good villains. Under Siege has got Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, both chewing the scenery.
Plus Steve Zagel's stomach.
Yes. cast against type. Whereas and you've got, obviously Alan Rickman in Die Hard. And even later ones like Jeremy Irons in the third Die Hard film. And without being rude to Mr. Payne, it's just not the same level. I mean, this is a lower budget film than those movies. But I think when you've put Wesley Snipes in, when you've put Tom Sizemore alongside him, who's really strong, I don't know. It's what I put here. Yeah, he's like it's almost like Hannibal Lecter. It's just this kind of, I don't know what. I mean, I'm jumping ahead in a way, but what did you think of Snipes, Sizemore, and Payne?
We don't really do it in the order anymore. We just kind of discuss the film in general. So Wesley Snipes has this very kind of laconic style in this thing. He's quite laid back, and he gets a little bit annoyed with the air stewardess played by Alex Datcher at some points at the start of the film, and then later on, he gets over himself, but he is a bit uptight. Tom Sizemore, he's good in this. It's a bit of a weird role for him. I mean, by the time he gets to things like Saving Private Ryan, he's phenomenal in that as a kind of wingman to Tom Hanks. It works really well. Him and Wesley Snipes on screen together are okay, and there's this kind of suggestion of a long friendship, and it's not too bad, but he comes across as a little bit of a weasel in this, Tom Sizemore's character, Sly. He's just kind of trying to get by, and Bruce Greenwood is his boss, Stuart Ramsey, and clearly at one point it looks like they're basically going to drop Wesley Snipes' character, John Cutter, under a bus, and he doesn't seem to really kick off at that point. You think he's his old mate. You'd be like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, well, okay. Because he just wants to keep his job. He's a bit of a knob. Yes, Bruce Payne is playing this multiple mass serial killer who's never been... Has he never been arrested? That's right. Or he's never been caught?
Never been... He's been caught. No, he hasn't. He's been caught, but got off on technicalities. They've never been able to prove anything.
That's right. So he's called Charles Rain, and there's all this stuff in the paper that says
Reign of Terror. Yeah. Oh God. Guys, when you come up with it, maybe give it a few minutes, have a little chat amongst yourselves, and come up with something else. I've just listened to a podcast about writers' room. They said, part of that is just calling just bullshit and saying when something doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the three writers never met.
Reign of Terror. Brilliant. Let's do that. He's definitely turned up to 11 cage. He's kind of, very over the top. He's trying to be calm and cool and show that things don't affect him. Like, in A View to a Kill, where he's playing a sociopath. You've got the killer. It's Christopher Walken.
Yes.
And in that, he's not... They say he's a sociopath. When stuff happens, he doesn't get annoyed or upset. It just rolls over him. And I think he was trying to do a bit of that in here and remain this upper-class, very posh, very in control guy. But it constantly wobbles. Like, it turns out he's a bit of a pervy weirdo.
And he's having the weird bit is he's having plastic surgery, which you think is a plot point. So the start of the film, he's about to have plastic surgery, change his face again. They say, we're so hard to catch him, he's always changing his face.
Yes.
But he doesn't change his face in this film.
No.
Which you think, it feels like almost that was something they were going to explore. And maybe like at some point in the film, you can't find him because he's somebody else. But no. Nope. Didn't happen at all. It was just a kind of thing for no real reason.
I think he's definitely the weak link. And having not watched this for probably 20 years, and then watched it last week, I thought, and I got halfway through and paused it to get a cup of tea. That's how hardcore I am, cup of tea.
Nice.
And I suddenly thought, hang on, I'm sure there's more of this on a plane.
Yeah.
Because the film is on a plane.
Very little, in fact, if you look at it.
But then they get back on the plane, and I went,
I know.
Oh, okay. This is what I was remembering.
Yeah. My main thing about this film, looking back, is I remember it had a really good trailer.
Right.
Because they're the bits you remember. I remember, people were like, Die Hard, but on a plane with Wesley Snipes. This is going to be... And all the kind of blaxploitation lines, there are only about 3 of them. Mm-hmm. In the film, they just come at random points.
Oh, yeah.
But in the trailer, that was kind of what the film was. It was, going to be a kind of throwback to those kind of 70s movie. And it's not really that either. It's. I thought that I liked the first 20 minutes. And then I started to wonder why things were happening. And then I wondered why more things were happening. Then it reminded me of when I did GCSE drama and used to have to improvise a story. And because we were teenage boys, you just run around and fight each other. And that's kind of what it felt like. Having said that, it did remind me that Wesley Snipes is actually very good at fighting. He's the so when talking from an action point of view.
Yep.
The fights he gets in and the close-up fighting is really strong.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he had a stunt double on his film. However, you can see that he is doing some of it himself.
He does Brazilian martial arts, doesn't he? I forgot what it's called. Caipora, I think.
I'm not sure. But you think of this. This was 1992, yeah?
Yeah.
It was only 6 years later that the first Blade film
I know.
came out, which seems ridiculous because it's a million miles away in some ways. But it's got that same thing of, you see him do the martial arts in this and you're like, okay, he does know what he's doing. It's him. You can see him doing it. And then when he gets to Blade and he's leaping around, and yes, some of it's on wires and CGI and stuff, but he's got that same swagger. So you buy into the fact that John Cutter is this tough badass and he used to be a cop.
Yeah.
And, he can take care of himself. So when he's fighting one-on-one with the terrorists, I believe it. I thought, yeah, it's just the other stuff that the film sometimes becomes racist, quite racist. Sometimes it devolves into this southern slap and tickle Benny Hill Bond film. And then other times it becomes executive decision on a plain Die Hard thing.
Yeah, I think about 4 films were happening at once, and I enjoyed one of them.
Do you want to talk about the country fair?
Oh God, yes, that. I don't know why. I don't know if I do or not. There's this. There's the racist sheriff.
Oh,
but he assumes because he's black that he's the one of the terrorists rather than the head of security, and then Bruce Payne's got Mr. Terror, whoever his name is. He kind of tells him that he is, and they believe it, but he kind of wins him over, and it's actually really uncomfortable now. And maybe at the time it was like, doing this blaxploitation thing, and he wins this guy. He's a bit of a racist, but he doesn't know any better. He's okay. But now you watch it and you just think, I don't know. Like you say, the things you're kind of mentioning, it almost reminds me of things like Smokey and the Bandit and the Bond films that had that kind of side to them. But this is 20 years later.
Yeah, uncomfortable drinking game. Count the number of times Chief Biggs calls him boy.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, it's at least 5 or 6. Yeah. It's not good.
And in lots of these films, they establish an arsehole through the film, and in lots of action films, the last frame of the film will be, the police cars and the ambulances come in, and the guy's there in a bandage, and then the arsehole comes over and says no hard feelings, and then he punches him in the face. Yep. That's what happens. But in here, they almost become friends. It is very odd. It's a very odd part of the film.
Yeah.
And it's an odd part of the film, tonally, because it's because John Cutter is he says he's the best at what he does. He's had this whole situation where his wife has died, and he's kind of gone into the background, and he's doing this kind of safe role in training but he's obviously got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. But all the way through, he's talking about how he's the best. But then you do get these kind of comedy moments. But most of them are, like you say, racist. There's the old lady who's a frequent flyer. They sit with him, who thinks he's Arsenio Hall.
Yes.
So again, from my memory and from the trailer, it's like, do you know what? This black guy is kicking ass. He's a brilliant action actor, and he himself is making these kind of blaxploitation comments.
Yep.
And that's kind of okay. He says always bet on black.
Yeah, I was going to mention that at one point, because he says to him, "Are you a gambling man?" "No, not really. I'll give you a little piece of advice. Always bet on black."
Which I didn't like that line as much now as I did in 1992. But it just, you go, well, okay, he can say these things, and it's part of his kind of swagger. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a very odd film.
It's weird, isn't it? How time has distorted our view of it. I remember when we said we were going to do this, I was like, "Oh, this is a brilliant film. I loved it. It was so good."
I remember you saying that. So when I pressed stop on this and looked at my notes, I thought, this is going to be an interesting episode, because if Steve is still a massive Passenger 57 fan, is currently writing his Passenger 58 fan fiction, we might be in for a lot of trouble.
Yeah. It was definitely not the film I remembered. It was a film very much of its time for all the things that we've talked about, but if you look at it from an action point of view, it's quite unique as well at the time. As we said, you got lots of things that followed and it copied, and they did lots of versions of it, from, executive decision to other stuff we've said. But at the time, it was probably quite unique in that you've got a black lead actor in the main action role. Yeah. It's on a plane. It's to do with terrorists. Now doing something like this is probably a bit more prickly because of everything that's gone on in the last 20 odd years. But he's the lead. He's an accomplished guy who knows what he's doing, and he essentially takes them on one at a time. It's all of the other stuff. It's all of that. They get off the plane. He gets involved with the locals. They're all a bunch of backwards hicks. He goes to the country fair, takes them out one at a time, and then gets caught back up and gets back on the plane. If it had just been all on the plane, in the sort of Con Air type thing, I think it would have worked a lot better.
I think that's almost the film we've all made in our heads, because we've taken the trailer and the premise. It's called Passenger 57, not bloke who gets on a plane and runs around a bit at a country fair. And so much of it just makes no sense. I'm going to get off the plane. It needs fuel. I'm going to get back on the plane. It feels extraordinarily contrived to me, and I appreciate it's an over the top action film. The challenge I've got is having looked back at what this was made in the same year as Under Siege,
right?
And saying that, when did I last watch Under Siege? I think Under Siege still holds up. Maybe we should pick it. Yeah, it's. Like the stuff when they're running around and the FBI have got reins, and then they decide to put him back on the plane to stop them killing the hostages, which didn't make any sense.
Well, I think the idea was that they were going to get the other
hostages off and then sniper him.
Yeah, make the people come to the door and shoot them. But that didn't really work because he knew there was more than one, and so that was strange. There's the bit where... Is that the thing, right? Wesley Snipes says, "Let me go in and talk to him," when they're trying to convince him to make it sound like it's his idea. And I thought, oh, he's got a brilliant plan. And the plan is, we're just going to have snipers. I was like, well, that wasn't worth doing. You didn't put a bug in his pocket or something.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird. There's all the bits to do with, is it Forget, played by Michael Horse?
Yes.
When he goes downstairs and they're fighting and all that kind of thing. And the other bloke with the jacket, who's also a bit dodgy. And I don't know, there's a lot going on that just seems quite disparate, like lots of different films, as you say.
Yeah.
When they go to the fair and there's all of that bit, that reminds me of the John Lithgow film that we did years ago.
Oh,
where he's the villain.
Oh, Denzel Washington. No, Ricochet.
Yeah, it reminds me of that a bit. Except John Lithgow is obviously a lot more convincing than Bruce Payne. Sorry, Bruce.
He's never coming on now.
Oh man!
Just
he's all lined up.
Just unsend that email.
Yeah, and delete. Check for read receipts. I think it was a great idea. I think it was very unique for its time. I think they had a lot going for it, and I think if we watched it back then. Plus, we weren't nearly as spoilt as we are now with the amount of material. It would have held up a lot better at the time. But looking at it with an older eye and a more seasoned film viewer eye, I was less impressed with it. Despite some bright spots like Wesley Snipes and his performance and hit the action that he does.
The fighting he does, like he's hidden in the toilet, they don't know where he is, and like so when the guy goes in to find him and he kind of beats him up and puts his head down the toilet, that's really good. And when he goes down, you've got these really strong kind of fighting moments, and you think, oh, if he's going to go around the plane like you said and pick them off one by one, but it's almost like they lost confidence in their own premise and kind of went, yeah, people are going to get bored of him just running around the plane, hitting people. Yeah. Why don't we land it? Which I guess they kind of did that in Con Air as well. But I guess Con Air was such a different film, more of an ensemble piece.
Yep.
And the one thing about Con Air is it kept its tone. It was always kind of slightly arch.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, there's the black and white flashbacks to how his wife got killed. Just quite serious. You get some like very early 90s saxophone as like Lethal Weapon-y kind of music going on. Mm-hmm. Then you get the bit with him going through security and the woman kind of pretty much feeling him up. I'm pretty sure you don't get checked down by someone of the opposite sex if the bleeper goes off. No.
Nope.
But it's a black thing. So yeah, and the stuff with the training. So some of those bits, the building blocks are there. And then I don't know. I quite like the bit where the kid kind of sees Rains and kind of pretends to shoot him, and then he shoots back with two guns and handcuffs. But I don't know, maybe in America this happens all the time, but it just feels a bit strange. They even said afterwards, you've allowed the world's most notorious plane hijacker, you've transported him on a plane full of families.
Yeah, serial killer on a plane with everybody else. And it's like, oh, the FBI don't tell me. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't just put him on a normal plane.
And I think five hostages still die in this film.
They do. They kind of forget that. Like
Which,
you say,
if you're going to make a film like this, which is kind of larger than life, and this one-person army, it may be like one person dies, and then that heightens the stakes, but he saves everyone else. I think 5 people is quite a lot. In real life, yes, but in a film like this, it just feels... But I guess that also leans into the other bit. Because he keeps saying how good he is, you don't ever really think that Cutter's in any jeopardy.
Yeah.
I don't think. You're just waiting for him to finish what he's doing.
Yeah, and I don't think they made enough use of Marty, the Marty character.
No.
She's obviously there as a bit of a foil for him, and he's been a bit of an arse with her to begin with, and then he kind of apologises and she's being unpleasant to him. But then they get caught in this difficult situation, and I thought what would happen in my version of it, in my head, he'd stay on the plane, she'd go back upstairs, and carry on pretending that she didn't know what was going on and be his kind of like inside person.
That would have been much stronger.
And then helping him take them out and all this kind of stuff. Like at one point, doesn't he just pop up inside the cockpit and say to the pilot and stuff, can you turn it around? Yeah, okay, do that. And I'm going to take these guys out one at a time. Like, hang on, I'm sure you can't just crawl along and pop out. Isn't it the whole thing that it's completely sealed so that you can't get in for hijacking and stuff? I
hope maybe that's because off the back of what happened here. But you'd think as well, it's like, can you turn the plane around? Who are you again? Oh, I'm security. Oh, yeah, no problem. We'll just turn it around. So, one, you've just gone, okay, I'll turn it around. Also, there's terrorists on board who have just gone, hang on, why have you turned it around? So he does put I know he's very good at what he does, but he does kind of put everyone at risk kind of multiple times, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a nice moment where he accidentally calls the attendant by the name of his wife. But yes. I don't know, but you almost want, like, again, in a lot of films, because we've seen this situation where how his wife died, you almost want a carbon copy of that scene. I don't think we got that. Maybe I haven't written it down. You didn't get did you get the same kind of thing with the attendant? Because you'd expect that almost.
He just put the gun to his, and then he puts the gun down. And then Rains tries to shoot him, but he jumps out the way, and this is what causes problems, and they have to take the plane down anyway. Yeah, there are a couple of nice twists, like Elizabeth Hurley's character is very, very nice and very pleasant and being nice to the kids, and, she's really kind of positive, and it's her first day, and she's getting on with Marty and fitting in really well, and you think, oh, she's nice. And then the twist is, of course, she's one of them. I'd forgotten that. I'd saw it coming.
That as well. But then I was like, hang on, she's English.
Villain.
Yeah.
She shoots someone like really quickly as well. I'm like, oh wow, okay, I really didn't see it. That must have been such a peach or a role for her. Like, you're going to catch. Like, what am I doing? You're an air stewardess. Oh, really? Is that it? Yep. And then you get the part, and then actually you're going to be a villain. What? That would be wicked. It's got to be one of her earliest roles too, I would think, in '92.
Probably.
So that must have been brilliant. Pretty early days for her, and very different perhaps the normal kind of thing she'd get, because she is of who she is. Not often she'd probably get to play villain. So, but that was a nice twist I'd forgotten. But it's a very patchy film, as you say. There's lots of different things going on. There's lots of elements that don't really work, and I'd just forgotten that it wasn't all on a plane.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not the world's leading authority on cabin pressure, but I don't think you should shoot a gun on a plane.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They do shoot quite a few guns on the plane, and I'm sure you can't actually do that because it would blow a hole and then you'd rip out everybody and then the plane would crash.
Yeah,
little things like that.
It happens a few times, and almost like it's almost like these are the okay bullets, but that bullet there, that's going to make the air cabin pressure drop, because it does drop eventually.
Yeah.
But they have kind of, And also, if you're going to kill off your villain in a film that's inspired by Die Hard, don't make him fall in a very similar shot.
Do you think it was inspired by Die Hard?
Well, yeah. I don't think this film would exist without Die Hard.
Really?
I don't think... Yeah, because Die Hard created a genre of lone person trapped in a place. And that was, 88. This is
88.
This is 92. If you follow the line through, like, say, this was 92, so was Under Siege.
So they've already had Die Hard 2 by this point. Ouch.
What's the Van Damme one that's in a hockey stadium?
Not the one with
Deadly
basketball.
No. Deadly. I was going to call it Deadly Puck. I'm sure it's not called Deadly Puck.
Deadly Puck.
Deadly Puck. It should be called Deadly Puck. Sudden Death.
Sudden Death.
See? Do you see the play on words there, which is much better than mine?
Yeah.
That was in 95. So it was a run, really, that, as I said, there's like a 6-year period, I think, where there were lots of films that were trying to be Die Hard. And they were all avid, the reviews would always be, this film is Die Hard on a... So this was Die Hard on a plane was pretty much how this was billed everywhere, really.
Ouch.
So... And I think they found their Bruce Willis. That was probably about it.
They definitely found the lead, I think.
Yeah. Well, just between watching this and Face Off and the Punisher TV series, I am never going on a horse carousel again.
What do you say?
They're very dangerous places. Very dangerous. Although, saying that, I don't like heights, and the Ferris wheel scene is he's hanging onto a Ferris wheel. Again, it's kind of all over the shop. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. We should probably...
Are you ready to give it some scores?
I think so.
Okay.
Enough with the yakety yak. What is your score?
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go on.
Because I chose it this time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen this film. There are some bright spots to it. There's a lot that I've forgotten. I definitely had rose-tinted glasses with this and painted a much different film in my head. More of it being on the plane. I'd forgotten some of the other kind of surrounding characters, so there were still some surprises for me, like Elizabeth Hurley's character. I'd actually forgotten about the main villain in terms of what he was like and how weird he was. But maybe back then when we watched it, we just thought he was a bit quirky and interesting and, different and not Alan Rickman. So maybe he was trying to be Alan Rickman. There are some weird comedy moments. We've said there's a bit of kind of weird backhand racism in there. It's a proper mixed bag, this film. No pun intended.
No mixed bag.
No mixed bag. So, despite all of the good things about it, I think I can only actually give it 2 bags.
That's harsh.
Well, not really.
Well,
go on.
Okay, here we go. As we said before, kind of, what tends to happen is one of 2 things happen, really. We see a film back in the day, we watch it now and go, oh, that is just as good as I remember. Or we see a film like Surviving the Game, where I thought it was amazing back in the day, and then I watched it and went, oh, what was I thinking? I was young, I was foolish. This is the first time that I wasn't that fussed on a film, and then I watched it again and I still wasn't that fussed on it. So I had the same experience I had the first time, which was, Wesley Snipes on a plane, this is going to be great, even because I kind of forgotten, like you said. And then I watched it and went, oh shit, I completely forgot this film falls apart halfway through, and the bad guy's really annoying. So I had exactly the same experience. I watched it with my wife, who was just like, about 20 minutes in, was like, yeah, I'm going to go on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I thought Snipes was brilliant. I think, as I said before, Tom Sizemore is pretty good. Funny, I was just looking at his IMDb page. He seems to be the new Eric Roberts. He's making an average of 12 films a year, Tom Sizemore. He's got, I think, 10 films currently in post-production. But anyway, so he might come on, if you ask nicely. So apart from those two, the rest of the film is pretty flat. I think the kind of female lead is quite good, but she's not really in it that much.
No.
And again, if this was made now, she'd probably get more to do. I've put it halfway through, maybe it's even in that. The whole film kind of falls apart. It loses its own premise, and then it just becomes a series of events in a row. I thought the plot and the script were kind of underdeveloped, and it wants to be like a blaxploitation Die Hard, but it's like a sub Under Siege to me in total. Bruce Payne's character was really annoying, and they're kind of chewing the scenery in all the wrong ways. But I was torn when I was doing the score because Wesley Snipes is so good, and this is an action movie podcast, not and the fight scenes are really strong, but they are only about 5 minutes of the film. So I put here, this is as big a mess as I remembered. 2 bags.
Okay, so you said I was harsh, but you've only given it 2 bags as well.
I was just building up for the audience.
Oh, very good.
I could have said 5, but that would have been I would have been a bit disingenuous there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
okay,
yeah,
only 2 bags. Yeah,
I can see why there hasn't, because I remember thinking, they made another Under Siege. They made quite a lot of these films had sequels. Why isn't there a Passenger 58?
And now we know.
We remember why.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, not nearly as good as we remember, but that's okay. This is what this is all about. It's exploring these films of the past and the present to see if they're as good as we remember or as we hope they're going to be.
If you've seen Passenger 57 and have a completely different view to us, or shaking your fist right now at the speaker,
have you seen it recently, or are you still just going off the memories of the past? That's the thing. How much do you actually remember of how good it is versus what's the reality? That's the thing we want to hear. So yes, let us know. You can email us, bagsofaction@gmail.com. You can come onto the Facebook group. You can come onto Twitter. And don't forget that we're also now on YouTube, where we are posting monthly episodes every week, but also new 5-minute reviews of other films. So don't forget to subscribe and like the channel to keep up to date with all the latest news on there.
I may even do a 5-minute review of Dead Trigger starring Dolph Lundgren. I don't think it maybe will get the full hour treatment.
No, but, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay, wrap us up, Pete.
Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are.
Good night.
Good night.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. No bullshit. You'd better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.